Last week, our Honorable Prime Minister has also appealed about the austerity drive.
पेट्रोल डीजल का संयम से इस्तेमाल करना, विदेशी मुद्रा बचाने के लिए सोना नहीं खरीदेंगे.
What is it in your perspective going on?
That 1.5 crore households India की consumption जितने है, AI अकेला उतना consume कर रहे हैं.
AI and critical minerals, which one is the most important thing for India for energy security?
हम बायोफ्यूल अगर प्रोड्यूस करेंगे, उसको एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे तो फॉरेन एक्सचेंज आएगा. बायोफ्यूल बना के अगर एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, राइट, सो वी आर ऑल्सो एक्सपोर्टिंग इंडियाज वाटर.
दोस्तों, ग्राउंड जीरो पॉडकास्ट के इस एपिसोड में एक बार फिर से आप सब लोगों का स्वागत है. मैं अनुराग बाजपेयी, आपका होस्ट. मेरे साथ में हमारे गेस्ट हैं डॉक्टर देबाजीत पालित सर. नमस्कार सर.
नमस्कार.
डॉक्टर देबाजीत is a center head for Center for Climate Change and Energy Transition under Chintan Research Foundation, CRF. सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद है आपका हमारे पॉडकास्ट में आने के लिए. सर, इन जनरल सिनारियो, व्हेन वी लुक एट द करंट सिनारियो व्हिच इज रिफ्लेक्टिंग अबाउट द एनर्जी क्राइसिस इन द वेस्ट एशिया, व्हाट इज इट इन योर पर्सपेक्टिव गोइंग ऑन? लास्ट वीक our Honorable Prime Minister has also appealed about the austerity drive in terms of reducing the energy consumption based on the human behavior. In general, this is fine. We surely up for such a cause always. But what is it that coming we really want to hear from your side?
First of all, thank you for hosting me. It's a pleasure to be part of this Ground Zero podcast.
Thank you, sir.
I think Honorable Prime Minister's call for austerity measures, I see it in two parts. One is, of course, the short-term thing that we are facing problem in the West Asia. The fuel supply chain has been affected. We all know it's not just for India, but I think for everybody, the case is the same. उन्होंने gold की बात की है कि we should stop importing gold because gold is the second largest foreign exchange drainer for the country after crude oil. So some sort of to reduce the outflow of foreign exchange from the country, which is very important to maintain the economic stability. I think the Honorable Prime Minister has asked the countrymen to support and follow austerity measures. But I see a larger picture from that. And as somebody working in the climate change and energy transition domain, I think it is important for us to follow a simple lifestyle to the extent possible. I am not saying that everybody should start following a very simple lifestyle. So that to the extent possible, because over the consumption is the greatest cause for climate change. The higher the consumption, higher the wastage, it directly impacts the climate change. And traditionally, we have seen in India has always followed the model of simple living, high thinking model, right? And over I remember something which is extremely appropriate for this time is Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay during one of his speeches in the executive committee of Bharatiya Jansangh in the 60s, he mentioned about a concept called Arthayam. Arthayam is something similar to pranayam, where you inhale and exhale oxygen or air to keep your body healthy. So to keep our economy and society healthy, there should be a regulated use of wealth, and wealth should be used for your comfort, not for your luxury. That's the whole idea behind the concept of Arthayam. I think the Prime Minister is just trying to convey a similar message in his own way. Being a great communicator in his own way, he's trying to convey a similar message, which has its positive impact in the short term to make the economy more stable, or not to affect the economy in a big way because of these high imports. And in the longer term, I think this will also help us to address to some extent our challenges of climate change and India's contribution to make the climate cleaner and greener.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think austerity is in our blood also.
Absolutely.
And we just need to invoke some time.
Actually, we don't need to be told about these 3 hours and 5 hours and 9 hours, which you see every day somebody or someone or other posting in LinkedIn.
Yeah.
These are all ingrained in the Indian society. In our society, we have been our grandmothers and grandfather has taught us all those things.
Absolutely.
हम भूल गए, बीच बीच में किसी को बोलना चाहिए तब याद आता है.
बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. देवजीत sir, you have done tremendous work in energy transition area. You have worked close to 23 years with Terry in such areas. When we look at the energy transition, how it is different from maybe changing the fossil fuel with the cleaner energy sources? What is it that we need to understand in the simplified language?
So as we know, जो हम एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन की बात कर रहे हैं अभी, and this is something that I think a lot of people might be knowing, but still repeating the same for those who may not be aware. So this is the third or fourth grand energy transition. So पहले भी 2 energy transition हो चुके हैं. The first one is from during the era of industrialization, the industrial revolution. जब हम non-mechanized 1800 50s or 1880s in that century, जब हम coal was found out, the machines that mechanization started to happen, and we moved from non-mechanized systems to mechanized systems and to increase our production. At that time, definitely all this climate and resource and all these things were never thought of. We thought that okay, ये technology मिल गया, इसको जितना ज़्यादा use कर सकते हैं हम use कर लेते हैं, so as to become rich,
बिल्कुल,
right? So as to create wealth. But then wealth तो create हो गया, but in a very inequitable way wealth create हुआ. Whoever could take advantage of the industrial revolution and become rich, and those who could not take the advantage are still not that rich. Or not have not economically developed. Right. Then electricity was invented. That's sometime around 1887. So 1900 अब मान के चलिए, the century of 1900. Electricity played a very big role in changing from mechanization to an productive use. Right. So the production process further improved. Now both this transition has their pitfalls. Everything was not good with this transition because inequity increased. We have this global south and global north concept coming up. Some became extremely rich, some resources from other countries were exploited and used by others to become rich. So ये एक inequity process चलती रही. The current transition is more, I think, so that brings to us for this current transition when we are shifting from fossil to non-fossil, basically because the fossil fuels create climate change because they release carbon dioxide, which are greenhouse gas. They get trapped in the atmosphere. Because of that, the temperature is increasing, and that will create a problem in the future. So we are all transitioning from non-fossil from fossil to non-fossils, whether it is from coal to renewable energy or well and gas to renewable energy and other sources. But we have a challenge here to see that this transition doesn't increases the inequity. And that's why we are talking about the concept. In the European contrast, we are talking about the concept of just transition, where the transition should also happen with justice. In India and in Chintan Research Foundation, we have gone one step forward, and we are saying that what is equally important is to see that we also have to take other things into account. For example, if we have limited amount of land, that means the land is limited in India. We have only 4% of the water resources, despite having 18% of the population. So you also have to be careful in using our land, our water, our other resources that we have. So हमें इसको एक system transition पे shift करना होगा. it is not beyond justice also. Justice is very important, but beyond that, we also have to be careful about what justice we are doing with the land, what justice we are doing with the water consumption, everything. So we are calling it a systemic energy transition. We have to, for a global south, systemic energy transition should be the key word. And not just energy transition or just energy transition. So that's something we are looking at it. We hope we can...
Systemic energy transition.
So that you follow a system approach. So it is not about, if I have to put it in a way, use a phrase, so it is not about levelized cost of energy, LCOE, but we also have to consider the LCA, life cycle analysis of the transition.
That is a very important part. When we look at the transition, that is one part that you have mentioned, the systemic. When we look at the climate action and the different approach between the global south versus the global north, how these approaches are different in terms of dealing with the climate action component?
Right, it's a very important question. That means we feel that the Western template or the global North template, we can fit into the global South, but it doesn't work that way.
It never works in general.
It will never work that way. Why? Because because in the global North, the infrastructure is already developed. So they don't have to develop the infrastructure because they have already done that. They're rich, they have got the benefits of industrial revolution, and using that, they have developed their infrastructure. So everything, roads, bridges, railways, everything is developed there. What they have to do now is that if the global north is using fossil fuel, they just have to shift from fossil fuel to non-fossil. Or clean energy, right? And that's why if they're using coal, they need to shift to renewables, either solar, wind, or other hydro and other sources of renewable, or to more energy efficient and energy management practices, so as to reduce the energy consumption, right? For a country like India, or for that matter, for the entire global south, what is equally important is also to create the infrastructure. So we have to be very careful that what type of infrastructure we are creating. And then we also have to shift to cleaner forms of energy. So what I feel in India, in the Indian context or in the global south context, our strategy of the debate of fossil versus non-fossil is irrelevant, or it is relevant to some extent. It cannot be the template for implementation. So what is important for the global south is should we follow an electrons first strategy? We differentiate between electrons and molecules. For example, molecules are those which are, whether you're using well and gas or anything in molecular form. And what we have observed is that in India, for example, we are using 22% of our energy mix is from electricity. Rest 78% is in the form of molecules, right? And most of the countries who are dependent on molecules, they're importing it from few countries, maybe in the West Asia or maybe a few other places. So they are import dependent, right? Extremely import dependent. That creates a problem for them because of these price shocks, supply shocks at different points of time, whether it is the current conflict in West Asia or the earlier it was the Russia-Ukraine conflict or something like that. So you are constantly in a sense of uncertainty. Whereas when you talk about electrons first strategy, it is about whether you can use your resources to convert them into electricity. For example, in India, we have enormous amount of coal. We can convert it into electricity. We also have huge amount of renewable energy in the form of solar, wind, hydro. We can use that to make electrons and supply. So our supply chain problem, whether we are using fossil or we are using non-fossil, is not going to create a problem if we use our own resources to make electrons and then supply it. Dependency on our import is not there. So for us, it is important that we should first develop the electricity infrastructure in the country, try to push electrons into different end uses as much as possible. Let me give an example. If your mobility can be converted into electric mobility, it doesn't matter whether I'm using coal or renewables. for that. Right? It's the first step. Whether my cooking, if I'm using biomass for cooking, or maybe LPG. Now you have seen the LPG crisis and the panic that has been created.
Yeah.
Now in 2017, I had suggested through one of my opinion pieces that the PM Ujjwala program should be technology agnostic. In addition to LPG, if somebody wants to go for electric cooking, should be allowed to go. Right? So 10 years back, almost 10 years back, we had suggested we would not have faced this panic now. Now everybody is talking about electric cooking. If we would have started talking about electric cooking during in 10 years before, right, the ecosystem would have developed. We are now unable to supply induction cooktops because suddenly they also can't increase their manufacturing capacity. Right? So that's another area. Electrifying the industrial process, right? Instead of using furnace oil to produce heat, why can't we use electric furnace? It is much more efficient. Because what we have seen is that the end use efficiency of all electrical device, and you will know better than me since you also work on similar topic, is anything between 70 to more than 90%.
Yes.
Right? Whereas the end use efficiency of all heating appliances using fossil fuel and others are less than 50%.
Yes. Yeah.
So purely from an thermodynamic energy efficiency point of view, it is easier and more useful to use electric devices. So I think for us, it is a two-step process for the global south: electrify fast and then decarbonize. It is much easier to decarbonize electricity because we have all the technologies have been commercialized, or there are many technologies which are commercialized. So electrify and decarbonize instead of targeting decarbonization
Directly,
and then slowing the process. So I give an analogy to in many events is it's like whether you are running a sprint, 100 meter or 200 meter sprint, or it is an 800 meter race. Right? If you are running an 800 meter race, then you run slow in the first lap, and then suddenly you pick up the pace. Right? If you start running fast in the first lap, then you will become tired and never going to win that race. So I think decarbonization is an 800 meter race. You strategize, run slow in the first lap, and then pick up to achieve your goal in a faster way.
Very nice.
It may look longer, but I think it is the shortest path.
Very nice. So मतलब पहले इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन करें,
पहले इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन,
डिकार्बनाइजेशन,
फिर डिकार्बनाइजेशन. तो हमें डिकार्बनाइजेशन टेक्नोलॉजी के पीछे भाग के टाइम जो हम स्पेंड कर रहे हैं, जो चैलेंज को एड्रेस करने में लगे पड़े हैं, टाइम जो स्पेंड कर रहे हैं, उससे अच्छा आप इलेक्ट्रीफाई कर ले पहले. इंडिया ने इलेक्ट्रीफाई कर दिया है, बट रिलायबल एंड क्वालिटी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, भले ही वो फॉसिल फ्यूल से क्यों ना हो, एंड देन फॉसिल फ्यूल को रिप्लेस कर देंगे क्योंकि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर आपकी क्रिएट हो गई. सो इट विल बी मच इजियर टू चेंज इट टू एनी अदर फॉर्म ऑफ नॉन फॉसिल.
बिल्कुल ठीक बात है सर. एक और क्वेश्चन है इसमें, जैसे कि generally when we look at the ecological development versus economic development, we discuss the same point itself. दोनों ही cases में generally मतलब what we have seen so far, the economic development always wins. Ecological development कहीं ना कहीं compromise होने के chances उसके बढ़ जाते हैं. उसका reason शायद rational भी होगा कि that you have to, let's say you mentioned that we have to develop the infrastructure first, either from the coal or from the electricity or from any other such source, but dependency from the import has to be reduced down. Yes. Otherwise, in such scenarios where the energy security becomes the major global issue, you left with nothing but the vulnerability level condition. ऐसे सिचुएशन में what could be the, let's say, the one thing that the policy has to do, and second thing the maybe I think the consumer has to do. Maybe I think the two things simultaneously, because when we look at the ecology, it is important to look into this particular subject. But I totally agree with you that the economic development is again the priority activity. Ecology is something which needs to go along, but sometimes it is not possible because you don't have such resources and the technology or the information at that maybe same point of time.
Yeah, so I think as I mentioned, जो मेरे first आपके question में मैंने बताया कि I think it's we have to consider LCA along with LCOE. हम सिर्फ लेवलाइज कॉस्ट ऑफ कि भाई इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की प्राइस या एनर्जी की प्राइस कितने कम है, LCOE के मॉडल से हम आगे जा रहे हैं कि भाई जितना कम हो रहा है एंड वी आर वेरी हैप्पी विद दैट. आई थिंक उसके साथ हमें कहीं ना कहीं LCA भी इन्वॉल्व करना पड़ेगा in all our analysis so that we can take an informed decision. Right? I let me give an example here, and it's very relevant in the current context. When we talk about exporting biofuel from India, of course, it makes a very great economic sense. We are an agricultural country. हम बायोफ्यूल अगर प्रोड्यूस करेंगे, उसको एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे तो फॉरेन एक्सचेंज आएगा. नो इकोनॉमिस्ट विल, आई एम श्योर, विल डिसएग्री विथ मी. बट हम जब बायोफ्यूल बना के अगर एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं, राइट, सो वी आर ऑल्सो एक्सपोर्टिंग इंडियाज वाटर. Right, because you need a lot of water
to prepare
to produce that biofuel,
to manufacture that biofuel.
Yeah. So you are also exporting India's water. Should we do that? We have to take a call. If we are using it for India and we don't have any other alternative, so then we might use it. We have coined a phrase that electrons wherever possible, molecules wherever necessary. So ये मंत्र होना चाहिए कि जहां जहां इलेक्ट्रिसिटी से काम हो सकता है हम कोशिश करें वहां इलेक्ट्रिसिटी यूज करें. जहां नहीं हो सकता है, जैसे लॉन्ग डिस्टेंस फ्रेट नहीं हो सकता है, आप दिल्ली से मुंबई ट्रक लेके जाएंगे, हेवी ट्रक है, इलेक्ट्रिक बैटरी लगा के नहीं जा सकता, तो उसमें हमको हाइड्रोजन बायोफ्यूल कुछ यूज करना पड़ेगा. शिपिंग, आप इलेक्ट्रिक शिपिंग नहीं हो सकता, मतलब हो सकता है 100 साल बाद हो जाए, या एयरलाइन इलेक्ट्रिक बैटरी से प्लेन नहीं चल सकता, मतलब 100 साल बाद हो सकता है हो जाए, बट आज के दिन पे नहीं हो सकता, लेकिन बायोफ्यूल से हो सकता है. तो वहां पे बायोफ्यूल को जहां पे उनकी यूज बेटर हो, we should use it there. जहां पे इलेक्ट्रॉन्स आर नॉट पॉसिबल, जहां पे इलेक्ट्रॉन से काम चल सकता है, जैसे सिटी मोबिलिटी, इलेक्ट्रॉन से काम चल सकता है, इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल से काम चल सकता है, तो वी शुड हैव मोर ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स देन ऑफ बायोफ्यूल बेस्ड व्हीकल्स इन अ सिटी, राइट, बिकॉज यू हैव एन ऑल्टरनेटिव, बेटर ऑल्टरनेटिव. जहां पे ऑल्टरनेटिव नहीं है वहां पे आपको बायोफ्यूल यूज करना है. सो व्हाट विल डू then your resource use will be optimized. आपके पास अगर कम रिसोर्स है, you are using it for your best wherever the need is more. So you are optimizing the resource. The moment you optimize the resource use, I think that helps you a lot in managing your ecology. So there should be a balance between both the economic growth and ecology, and the harm that we are probably doing to our ecology. अगर वो बैलेंसिंग प्रॉपर तरीके से हुआ, आई थिंक बोथ आर पॉसिबल एंड कैन बी डन. मेनी कंट्रीज आर डूइंग इट. इन इंडिया आल्सो इन मेनी प्लेसेस इट इज बीइंग डन. I think India's NDC that has been submitted to UNFCCC they take this into account, that while we are growing and we will grow, but at the same time we are also जो हमारी climate action agenda है, that is also very forward looking and pragmatic, right? So we are trying to balance the both. And at the national level, our GDP growth rate has been hovering between on an average around 6.5-7% in the last many years. And our carbon emission that is growing is about, I think if I remember correctly, it is about 4 to 5%, 4.5, something like that. So which means we are growing at a faster pace than our emissions are growing, which means we are following an environment friendly growth.
One more question which is related to again electrification. बहुत सारे सेक्टर्स हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे ट्रांसपोर्ट है, एग्रीकल्चर है, कमर्शियल, रेजिडेंशियल, इस तरह के जितने भी सेक्टर्स हैं, अगर हम उसमें लेट्स से इंडस्ट्रियल में ही देखें तो स्पेसिफिक अगर कोई इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से अगर देखें तो विच वन इज़ द बेस्ट सूटेड सेक्टर जहाँ पे इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन करने से ट्रांजिशन जल्दी हो जाएगा, एंड मे बी आई थिंक द वर्स्ट सेक्टर ऑल्सो जहाँ पे आपको अभी भी लगता है कि इट मे टेक लॉन्गर टाइम वहाँ पे टेक्नोलॉजी इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन की बजाय मे बी आई थिंक द डायरेक्ट टेक्नोलॉजी adoption may be a better suited option.
So I think I've already answered that. I think we can electric mobility. We should give priority more and more electric mobility. At least in the urban areas. Electric cooking. We should have a program on electric cooking. To create, and more importantly, it is not about just giving an induction cooktops to somebody. It is about creating the ecosystem for electric cooking. In urban area, I think the ecosystem for electric cooking is already there. In rural areas also, we have to create that ecosystem, and for that, it is important to provide quality electricity supply. Distribution network को strengthen करने पड़ेंगे, and all such things have to be done. ये दो एरिया में तो इमीडिएटली हो सकते हैं इसमें इकोसिस्टम भी मतलब वी हैव एटलीस्ट द बेस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रेडी
अवेलेबल
या आई थिंक इन द लॉन्ग रन हीट पंप्स फॉर इंडस्ट्रियल हीटिंग could be taken up. It might take some time, but I think we should start it. We should so basically it is electrifying the energy demand, the industrial energy demand. To the extent possible, we should do it. जो सेक्टर में नहीं हो सकता और दिक्कत हो सकता है, as I said, long distance freight is one where maybe we have to rely on biofuels or hydrogen or something like that. Airline, we have to depend on biofuel. जो sustainable aviation fuel बोल रहे हैं हम, so we have to depend SAF जिनके बारे में बोल रहे हैं, तो we have to depend on that. So these are areas where immediately it may not be possible, or in the medium term also it may not be possible. So there we have to focus using the molecules and preferably green molecules.
Yeah. एक और सर क्वेश्चन है कि जैसे ग्रिड हार्मोनाइजेशन या डिस्कॉम्स रिफॉर्म्स की बात करते हैं इंडिया में, अभी भी डिस्कॉम्स मुझे लगता है कि मैक्सिमम डिस्कॉम्स स्टेट ओन्ड हैं और वो गवर्नमेंट ऑपरेटेड ही हैं। कुछ हैं जो प्राइवेट सेक्टर ऑपरेटेड हैं, कुछ अभी इन ट्रांजिशन है जो कि प्राइवेट सेक्टर के थ्रू ऑपरेट होना शुरू हो जाएंगी। इस तरह केसेस में मतलब व्हाट इज योर पर्सपेक्टिव और ओपिनियन इन टर्म्स ऑफ what is more important? जैसे डिस्कॉम रिफॉर्म्स में भी बहुत important है because you mentioned electrification, but अगर इस तरह के डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में ही बहुत सारी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लॉस हो जा रही है, तो rather than putting the focus on the RE installation or reforms, what should be the pick from your perspective?
I think difficult to, मेरे हिसाब से very difficult to give a priority. Both are important. Why both are important? We cannot wait for RE installation for the simple reason that अब जो wind है वो तो वहाँ रुके, it will stop there, right? और solar radiation will not say कि जैसे आप fossil fuel use करते हैं, अगर आप जमीन से नहीं निकाल रहे हो, at least it will be there. You know that tomorrow you can use it. Wind जो है वो तो वहीं से चली जाएगी, right? It will just flow away. और radiation, तो अगर आप use नहीं कर रहे हो टेक्नोलॉजी होते हुए भी, so you are losing money. You are not utilizing it. So रुक नहीं सकते वहाँ पे. We have to continue using it. But yes, you are very right. I think we have to give importance, and we have to immediately start structural reforms in the power sector. I have a feeling, and again I may be wrong here, I have a feeling that we are definitely having reforms in the power sector, but we are doing it at a very higher level.
ग्राउंड लेवल पे नहीं,
हम एनर्जी कपलिंग की बात कर रहे हैं, इंडिया एनर्जी स्टैक की बात कर रहे हैं. These are all good, but these are at a very top level thing, no? मैं तो ये देखता हूँ, my PhD is on rural electrification. मेरे लिए तो बिजली, have we been able to provide reliable and quality supply, uninterrupted supply to the rural areas? क्या हमारे MSMEs रूरल एरिया में जो है, and your organization work on those, on all these aspects, are they getting quality and reliable supply to produce something?
That is very challenge.
That is very challenge. Ultimately, if they don't do it, the rural income will not increase. आप कितने दिन सब्सिडी देते रहोगे? जब तक rural income increase होगा, then only they will be able to buy those electrons that you are producing. Right? So it's a you have to make it's a virtuous cycle. उसके लिए डिस्कॉम रिफॉर्म्स होना बहुत जरूरी है. Now we are talking about discom reforms. And we are saying that, revenue is not coming. T&D losses or AT&C losses are high in some cases. In many cases, it is reduced. And so let us go for large-scale smart metering that will help us in improving our revenue. Fair enough. That's correct. But the point is revenue not coming is the disease or it is a symptom? रेवेन्यू क्यों नहीं आ रहा है, ये क्वेश्चन एज ए रिसर्चर माय नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज रेवेन्यू क्यों नहीं आ रहा है. राइट, रेवेन्यू इसलिए नहीं आ रहा है क्योंकि हम उसको क्वालिटी सप्लाई नहीं दे पा रहे हैं. हम जो है हमारी जो ऑपरेशनल एफिशिएंसी ऑफ द डिस्कॉम्स आर नॉट वेरी हाई.
तो आप कहना चाह रहे हैं कि अगर उनका मतलब क्वालिटी सप्लाई हो जाए तो कलेक्शन एफिशिएंसी इंप्रूव हो जाएगी.
मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि This is like this is a service industry, right? So what I have found during when I completed my PhD in the last I submitted in 2019, so did my field work in 17-18 around that time. What I found is that your quality is not just about quality of electricity supply, the electron supply, but also the quality of service that you are delivering. आपकी अगर मीटर खराब है उसको आप 3 महीना लगता है ठीक करने में, या कोई फ्यूज ऑफ कॉल है, it takes lot of time. The person, the household जो है आपकी कस्टमर, उनको एक बिल ठीक करवाने के लिए फुल डे आना पड़ता है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी ऑफिस में, आके ठीक करवाना है. कुछ बिल में कुछ गड़बड़ हो गया, कुछ समथिंग हो गया ना, उसको करेक्ट करवाना है ना. वो जब आ रहे हैं दे आर लूजिंग देयर टाइम, लाइवलीहुड, समथिंग. नो, तो आप इस सर्विस को भी बेहतर करना पड़ेगा. इट इज नॉट जस्ट अबाउट द सप्लाई ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स बट ऑल्सो द सर्विस डिलीवरी. आपको जो नेटवर्क है, the weakest link to me is the something between the 11 kV line and the household connection. जो बीच में ट्रांसफार्मर आता है, LT लाइन आता है. ट्रांसफार्मर आधे दिन तो खराब रहते हैं, राइट? उसको आप how do you ensure that your transformer is that you have provided is a good quality transformer? छोटी छोटी बात मैं बता रहा हूँ. अगर ट्रांसफार्मर रूम में आपके, I have seen it in many places, जो wherever you put up the all these fuses and everything, the meters in a say, अगर आपका एक एग्जॉस्ट फैन नहीं लगाया, मॉइस्चर एक्यूमुलेट हो जाता है. मॉइस्चर एक्यूमुलेट गर्मी के समय में फिर वो खराब हो जाता है. मॉइस्चर क्या बोलते हैं, शॉर्ट हो जाता है, राइट? देन इट, how do you address those problems? These are small problems. This looks small, but these are very important problems. तो आपकी उस लेवल पे what you are doing? Are you making your, आप सिर्फ स्मार्ट मीटर लगाने से ये सब प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं हो जाएंगे. इसको आपको अलग से देखने पड़ेंगे.
वेरी रेलेवेंट पॉइंट,
राइट? आप सिर्फ मीटर लगाने से पैसा आ जाएगा, नहीं, शायद नहीं होगा. जब तक आप ऑपरेशनल एफिशिएंसी को इम्प्रूव नहीं करेंगे, क्वालिटी ऑफ सर्विस को इम्प्रूव नहीं करेंगे, क्वालिटी ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉन सप्लाई को इम्प्रूव नहीं करेंगे, तब तक ये सारे चीज नहीं होने जा रहे हैं.
इसीलिए देखिए जो जैसे प्राइवेट सेक्टर डिस्कॉम्स में जैसे
अच्छे हैं,
कलेक्शन एफिशिएंसी इज वेरी वेरी हाई,
एब्सोल्युटली
क्लोज टू 100%.
एब्सोल्युटली. आपको मैं ये बताता हूँ, जो पब्लिक सेक्टर डिस्कॉम्स में जब ये फ्रेंचाइजी स्कीम आया, आई वर्क विद द फ्रेंचाइजी एट दैट टाइम वेरी एक्सटेंसिवली. सो जब टोरेंट पावर ने आगरा में फ्रेंचाइजी दिया, या भिवांडी में टोरेंट पावर ने दिया, और इन अदर प्लेसेस, यू सी व्हाट दे हैव डन. दे हैव नॉट, ऐसा नहीं कि वो डे वन से उनको रेवेन्यू बढ़ाने के चक्कर में पड़ गए. उन्होंने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को स्ट्रेंथन किया, क्वालिटी ऑफ सर्विस सप्लाई सबको इम्प्रूव किया, एंड आफ्टर डूइंग ऑल दिस थिंग्स द लॉसेस को कम किया. हाउ दे हैव डन लॉसेस को कम? इट इज नॉट अबाउट द कमर्शियल लॉसेस, दे हैव आल्सो रिड्यूस्ड द टेक्निकल लॉसेस, राइट? इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को इम्प्रूव करते ही टेक्निकल लॉसेस कम हो गए. ऑटोमेटिकली दे हैव क्रिएटेड दोस फैंसी शॉप्स और टाइप ऑफ जैसे मोबाइल कंपनीज के होते हैं वैसे उन्होंने फैंसी टाइप ऑफ आउटलेट्स बनाए हैं जहाँ पे आप बिल दे सकते हो, ऑनलाइन बिल दे सकते हैं, रिचार्ज करते हैं, जैसे राइट. सो ऑल दिस थिंग्स इमीडिएटली द रेवेन्यू इंक्रीज्ड.
इसमें अगर मैं एनर्जी या इलेक्ट्रिसिटी एंड वाटर नेक्सस की बात कर लूँ, बहुत सारे ऐसे स्टेट्स हैं जहाँ पे जो एग्री डोमिनेटिंग स्टेट्स हैं, वहाँ पे लेट्स से देयर आर लॉट ऑफ हैवी सब्सिडीज व्हिच आर बीइंग गिवन टू द फार्मर सेक्टर, जहाँ पे इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन में उनको बताया गया कि आप इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कनेक्शन लीजिए, ईदर यू पे 60 रुपीज और फ्री. In those scenarios, they put up these tube well or the electric pump, और वहाँ से वाटर के जो कलेक्शन है वो बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ जाता है. I think in UP itself in 2024 March, there is a new policy which got released for the subsidy for the farmers, particularly for the pumps. अब एक विलेज में, जैसे इन माई विलेज ओनली देयर वर ओनली आई थिंक 5 to 6 ट्यूबवेल या पंप्स व्हिच वर इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बेस्ड. नाउ इन अ स्पैन ऑफ लेट्स से हार्डली 6 months द नंबर गॉट अप टू लेट्स से ऑलमोस्ट लाइक 27. तो मतलब अब तुरंत ही जो है वो 4 times हो गया. 4 times होना एक बुरा नहीं है, ठीक है, सब्सिडी वॉज गिवन टू द फार्मर तो उसके लिए उनका है. But over a period of time, it will also be giving the feedback in terms of depleting the water level also. So जब हम लोग पॉलिसी बनाते हैं तो हम लोग क्या इंटरकनेक्शन या इंटीग्रेटिव अप्रोच भी देखते हैं कि एक हम दे रहे हैं which will give the benefit, but another will also be resulting in the form of some losses.
It's a very important question. I have also raised this as part of my PhD work. So if you see in India what happened, so we had this, we were importing wheat and from US in the 60s, I think. They stopped giving us wheat and we had a huge problem. And after that, we all know about the Green Revolution and all those things. Green Revolution was almost synonymous with pump set energization. States in Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, many of these places that Maharashtra, Gujarat, pump set energize kiya gaya. It was an easier way to do it because the farmers would have a pump set in their own land. Independence ज़्यादा है, किसी के ऊपर dependency नहीं है. जब चाहे बिजली जब भी आता है, you draw the water, and resulting in that in Punjab and other places, Haryana or Rajasthan, the water level is drastically gone down. Right? And we are now facing the problem. जब मैंने इसको स्टडी कर रहा था as part of my work, what I found is that we have not developed the surface irrigation systems in a way because we are too much dependent on groundwater irrigation. बड़े लेवल पे सरफेस वाटर इरिगेशन हमने बहुत साल डेवलप ही नहीं किया. Right. I am not from the irrigation sector, but if whatever information I have, maybe 60s में हमने कुछ किया था, हीराकुद, भाखरा नंगल and other things. After that, large scale surface water irrigation schemes were not developed. Before the Bajpai government started talking about interlinking of rivers. In that period, hardly much work was done, and the groundwater irrigation was given the most importance. Right? कहीं ना कहीं हमें ये मुझे लगता है कि हमें वो पैरेलल सरफेस वाटर इरिगेशन भी करना चाहिए था फॉर 2 reasons. एक सरफेस वाटर इरिगेशन, ये सरफेस वाटर इरिगेशन हैज इज ओन प्रॉब्लम बिकॉज वाटर एवापोरेट हो जाता है, बट आई थिंक स्टिल इट इज बेटर देन द ग्राउंड वाटर एक्सट्रैक्शन. सो ग्राउंड वाटर के इतना प्रेशर नहीं होता. सरफेस वाटर इरिगेशन भी अगर होता तो साथ साथ तो ग्राउंड वाटर में इतना प्रेशर नहीं होता. वी वुड नॉट बी इन ए सिचुएशन व्हाट यू आर मेंशनिंग नाउ. मोर इम्पोर्टेंटली सरफेस जब हम कैनल्स वगैरह बनाते हैं, we could have used pumps to draw water from the canals also, right? So that is also a standard process. Yeah. फिर हम आज के दिन पे हम सोलर के बात कर रहे हैं, तो हम already those pumps could have been easily converted into solar, right? So I think that pressure would not have been there on the groundwater if we would have developed both the irrigation facilities. it would have been much better. I think the government should start thinking, and I think now I think there are a lot of work, irrigation channels and other things. All these canals are being made and all those things, and maybe it should be done in a more proactive way. The other thing that I would like to say, I think currently solar is because we have the solar technology, we are using it in a big way. We have seen the benefit of solar. I think most of the irrigation facilities, jahan pe bhi electric pumps hai, the feeder that is supplying electricity should be solarized. So jahan pe bhi possible hai, solarize the feeder. That will also reduce the losses. I'm talking about the monetary losses for the DISCOM, because solar price आपको जो cost to supply in irrigation 6 से 8 रुपया है. If you are providing solar and that to decentralized solar solarizing a particular feeder plant वहीं पे लग रहा है, तो आपकी ये cost to supply, just check to the Rajasthan DISCOM and they were saying that 3 rupees 50 पैसा और maximum 4 रुपया हाँ supply cost हो जाता है. तो अब directly 2 से 4 रुपया save कर रहे हो. Anything save is your profit, right? At least it will reduce your loss, if not help you earn profit. So solarization of the feeder should be taken up in a big way in all the state. PM Kusum component C has not been that successful. I think if some policy changes need to be done as far as the solarization of feeder should be done, that will also help कि farmers जो है आपकी जो उनकी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जो भी पानी ड्रॉ करेंगे दिन के समय ही ड्रॉ करेंगे तो आपके जो है रेप्लेनिश भी हो जाएगा. मतलब requirement is defined, right? So within a structured boundary they will only draw the water. जितना समय कर सकते हैं सोलर है उतने ही समय करेंगे. So I think that should be promoted.
बिल्कुल ठीक है सर. एक चीज और जो मुझे लगता है कि इलेक्ट्रॉन्स एंड मॉलिक्यूल पे करते हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे हम हाइड्रोजन पे भी बात करते हैं, वी ऑल्सो have seen ki how India has given the maximum allocation for the green hydrogen component in terms of budget allocation. तो मतलब point ये कि जैसे are we moving enough fast in terms of availing the green hydrogen infrastructure setting up, or maybe I think the clean fuel infrastructure setting up in India, ताकि हम लोग इस जो रिक्वायरमेंट है लेट्स से इकोनॉमिक वर्सेस इकोलॉजिकल डेवलपमेंट की, उसको हम तेजी से कर सकें. ओनली बजट एलोकेशन इज सफिशिएंट और व्हाट एल्स इज आल्सो रिक्वायर्ड सर?
नहीं, budget allocation is not sufficient because we have to create the ecosystem for green hydrogen.
Correct.
आप जैसे budget allocation किया गया, there are a lot of incentives being provided for green hydrogen, both for electrolyzer manufacturing and also for green hydrogen production. These are all supply side incentives. Most of them are supply side incentives. And we raised this point in one of our in Chintan in one of our policy brief that the government also need to provide demand side incentive. अगर आप डिमांड साइड इंसेंटिव्स नहीं देंगे तो जिनको खरीदना है वो why would they purchase the green hydrogen, right? What incentives they have to purchase the green hydrogen? The green hydrogen price is still high as compared to other colors of hydrogen. So what we are suggesting from in the work that we are doing at Chintan Research Foundation, what we are suggesting is that it is important to develop the hydrogen economy, not necessarily green hydrogen economy. So again, we are saying that it could be a two-step process. Let us develop the hydrogen economy infrastructure, irrespective of the color of the hydrogen. Government can come out with some benchmarks that what should be the carbon emission allowed when you produce hydrogen. And then, if you are using coal, say, and very recently government has announced some incentives for coal gasification. So the coal gasification, what we produce is syngas, carbon monoxide and hydrogen. Hydrogen can be extracted from there. And if you couple it with CCUS, carbon capture and utilization, you can produce hydrogen as good as green hydrogen. Right? So the hydrogen economy needs to be developed. As and when the price of green hydrogen will be reduced, automatically you can shift to green hydrogen. Instead of waiting for the green hydrogen economy to develop and waiting for another 5 years or whatever is the timeline, it's better to start the work, because तब जाके हाइड्रोजन इकोनॉमी अगर उस समय हम डेवलप करने की कोशिश करेंगे और डिले हो जाएगा. अभी से हम हाइड्रोजन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को डेवलप करते हैं, इकोसिस्टम को डेवलप करते हैं, और जब ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन प्राइस विल बी इक्विवेलेंट टू ग्रे हाइड्रोजन और से अदर फॉर्म्स ऑफ हाइड्रोजन, वी कैन इमीडिएटली शिफ्ट देयर. बट शिफ्ट प्राइस तभी कम होगा जब आप डिमांड साइड इंसेंटिव्स देंगे. And why we are saying that it is important to provide demand side incentives, and we have shown in our policy brief that if you see the renewable energy sector, सिर्फ सप्लाई साइड इंसेंटिव से रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी की ग्रोथ नहीं हुआ. अगर आप PLI स्कीम में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के लिए आप इंसेंटिव्स दे रहे हो, मॉड्यूल्स एंड इसमें सेल बनाने के लिए the government of India is providing incentives, and the cell production and module production has increased leaps and bounds, right? In fact, the module production is now more than our domestic demand. साथ में आप ये भी, your government has also ensured domestic content requirement. Otherwise, the module that we are producing is reportedly twice the cost of the modules that we import, right? But still, within the government program, whoever is implementing PM Kusum or PM Suryagar has to buy those modules only to get the subsidy. So that is a demand side incentive. You're right.
Which incentive, sir, is more, or is it like subject to a specific domain or sector? For example, RE में आपने बताया कि हम सप्लाई साइड में PLI नहीं देते हैं, लेकिन हम डिमांड साइड में हम इंसेंटिव दे रहे हैं, स्टेट एंड सेंटर बोथ साइड में. जी. इस तरह के जैसे हार्ड टू अबेट सेक्टर्स में देखते हैं सर, जैसे मान लीजिए कि सीमेंट इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, दे आर बीइंग आस्क्ड, they produce, let's say, low carbon cement also. They produce OPC, DPC and so many others. But जो डिमांड है जैसे NHAI या मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रोड ट्रांसपोर्ट एंड हाईवेज, they do not ask for maybe I would say the low carbon cement, क्योंकि उनको लगता है कि लो कार्बन सीमेंट महंगी हो जाएगी जी. और वो जो सर्किल है वो कभी खत्म नहीं होता है, बिकॉज अगर एज लॉन्ग एज द डिमांड इज फॉर द OPC या जो हाई कार्बन इंटेंसिव सीमेंट की है, और अगर डिमांड नहीं आ रही है तो उस पर हो जा रहा है. सप्लाई साइड को भी कोई चिंता नहीं, डिमांड साइड को भी चिंता नहीं. तो अगर इंसेंटिव दें तो किस तरीके के मतलब किस साइड को इंसेंटिव दें ताकि उसका इम्पैक्ट बेहतर हो जाए? हाउ टू डिसाइड फ्रॉम द पॉलिसी पर्सपेक्टिव?
I think as I said, I think it is important कि आप दोनों साइड में देने पड़ेंगे. सप्लाई साइड में भी देने पड़ेंगे, बिकॉज अगर आपकी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कैपेबिलिटी नहीं है या फैसिलिटीज नहीं है उस पर्टिकुलर टाइप ऑफ प्रोडक्ट मैन्युफैक्चर करने के लिए, तो आपको कहीं ना कहीं इंसेंटिव देने पड़ेंगे टू बूस्ट अप द मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, राइट? सिमिलर टू द PLI स्कीम्स इन द सोलर सेक्टर. हमारे पास मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कैपेबिलिटी उतने अच्छे नहीं थे, incentives दिए, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग we are now producing, we have ramped up the production. But ramp up of the production will not mean that somebody is using that production. उसके लिए जो इसका यूज कर रहे हैं, तो या तो आपको ऑफटेक पॉलिसीज डिसाइड करने पड़ेंगे, और कुछ अलग टाइप, मतलब इन सम अदर फॉर्म्स डिमांड साइड इंसेंटिव देने पड़ेंगे. मे बी वायबिलिटी गैप इंसेंटिव्स की भाई प्राइस कम हो जाए तो ऑटोमेटिकली ऑफटेक हो जाएगा. या मैं इसको मैंडेट कर रहा हूँ कि आपको ये खरीदना है, राइट? डोमेस्टिक कंटेंट रिक्वायरमेंट DCR मॉड्यूल्स आपको खरीदने हैं तभी गवर्नमेंट की सब्सिडी मिलेगा. एक कंडीशन लगा दिया, तो यहाँ पे सब्सिडी दे रहे हैं बट विथ ए कंडीशन, ताकि जो सप्लाई कर रहे हैं उनकी प्रोडक्शन यूज हो जाए, राइट? तो जैसे आपने हाईवे की एग्जांपल, यू यूज द एग्जांपल फ्रॉम हाईवे. नाउ इफ द गवर्नमेंट टेक्स ए कॉल कि वी विल यूज से 10%, एटलीस्ट 10 to 20% ग्रीन सीमेंट, और टेंडर कंडीशन में ये लिख दिया जाए, तो ये एक ऑफटेक, एश्योर्ड ऑफटेक पॉलिसी हो गया, डिमांड साइड इंसेंटिव जी. तो somebody सीमेंट मैन्युफैक्चरर्स will then manufacture
ग्रीन सीमेंट
cement.
क्योंकि उसको डिमांड क्लियर दिख
उसकी
रही है.
डिमांड क्लियर दिख रही है. अगर टेक्नोलॉजी ही नहीं है ग्रीन सीमेंट का, तो यू मे हैव टू गिव अ सप्लाई साइड इंसेंटिव सो दैट एटलीस्ट दे कैन गेट अ टेक्नोलॉजी फ्रॉम आउटसाइड और व्हाटएवर. दिस वन स्पेंड सम मनी ऑन द गेटिंग द टेक्नोलॉजी.
CCUS इस तरह की
CCUS की, तो उसमें आप इंसेंटिव दे रहे हो. सो आई थिंक इट शुड बी अ वेरी बैलेंस्ड मिक्स ऑफ बोथ सप्लाई साइड एंड डिमांड साइड. बट आई डोंट सी, I as a somebody working in the energy domain, I don't see it purely from an economics point of view. And solar, again, I come back to solar because that gives us that's an exact template of what has happened when we started implementing solar in India. Grid scale solar, the first power plant of grid scale solar is in, if I know, that means 5 megawatt scale plant is in Durgapur by West Bengal Green Energy Corporation Limited. Right at that time, मिनिस्ट्री से कुछ उनको आई थिंक कुछ फंडिंग मिला था. So 18 rupees was the price of per kilowatt hour. Right, when the solar mission was launched at that time, it was, I'm talking about, this was in before 2010. When the solar mission was launched, I think in 2011-12, the price of solar electricity was around 15 rupees per kilowatt hour. Right, government provided some incentives, brought in different types of schemes, reverse auction and whatnot and everything. Now it is 2 रुपया में आ गया. अगर उस समय NTPC के साथ blending किया, coal and solar was blended, 4 units of coal electricity and 1 unit of solar was blended and sold at an average weighted average cost. तो जो 15 रुपया से घट के 5 रुपया हो गया weighted average cost. NTPC being a large company, they could say that अगर आप ये ब्लेंडेड वाला नहीं लोगे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी, तो यू विल नॉट गेट द कोल इलेक्ट्रिसिटी. तो लोगों को लेना ही पड़ा. दैट हेल्प द सोलर प्लांट डेवलपर्स टू गेट देयर whatever investment they have made to recover their investments and make further investments. And the rest is history. Now coal is costlier than solar.
Yeah. एक और सा डोमेन है जैसे बिल्डिंग्स में
जी.
तो बिल्डिंग्स में भी देयर आर कोड कंप्लायंसेस व्हिच बेसिकली इंश्योर्स कि अगर आप बिल्डिंग्स में वो एनर्जी कंजर्वेशन बिल्डिंग कोड व्हिच वाज अर्लियर, नाउ इट इज एनर्जी कंजर्वेशन सस्टेनेबल बिल्डिंग कोड, and you implement that code with the building design at the beginning of the building level, then maybe lump sum or around 30 to 40% of energy can be saved. Similarly for water and other such resources. But this code has been in the existence for last maybe I think 18-19 years, but still the offtake of the code has not been there in the domestic market. There are certain examples, 1 or 2 states they have done something, but still I think there's not much of the impact which has been there. What is it that you understand? Because building is again a very complex subject compared to maybe hard to abate sectors or something. But if you look at the total energy, it is maybe consumption pie chart, 32% coming from the buildings, including residential and commercial both. So what is it that may drive the sector better? Is it like incentive or is it like enforcement? Although the code is mandatory, but it is not being enforced the way it is required so far. What is your perspective, sir?
I think it's important to have both incentives and enforcement. In India, our enforcement are very poor. And incentives don't go into the right hand because of that. Right. So मुझे लगता है both are important. Both probably are equally important. But at the same time, we have to again, I think in the building sector, the institutional building and residential building जितने बनते हैं, if I know the sector, that means I'm not from the sector, but if I know it correctly, you're two different types of customers. So probably the incentive systems are also have to be designed accordingly. When we're talking about residential, they're very cost sensitive customers. Right? वो जितने कम खर्च में जितना ज़्यादा benefit मिल जाए, they will go for such buildings. तो आप उनको what is that? What type of incentives can be provided to customers who are buying a flat? I'm not sure whether we have any incentives for them to buy a green flat or not. Whether the building owner is that means the builder is getting an incentives to
developer,
make developer is getting an incentives कि उनको FAR में I think कुछ increase मिल जाता है green building rating 5-star rating में कुछ ज़्यादा FAR मिल जाता है municipality में. But what benefit if I want to buy an apartment, am I getting any benefit in buying a green building? Other than that, I have taken an apartment in a green complex. Right? तो मुझे अगर ऐसे मिल जाता कुछ, अगर जब बैंक मुझे लोन दे रहे हैं, right? So at that time अगर मुझे 25 basis point reduced interest में मिल जाता, 0.25%
तो शायद मैं उस तरह प्रॉपर्टी लेता,
शायद मैं जो एडिशनल स्पेंड करूंगा टू बाय से अपार्टमेंट इन ए ग्रीन कॉम्प्लेक्स, दैट वुड बी एडजस्टेड देन, राइट? सो we have to create those type of mechanism also. We have to think, again, I'm coming to, we have to think it in two different aspects. When the government gives incentives, they have to think that we are giving the incentives for long-term benefit. Right? जब इंडिविजुअल इंसेंटिव्स अवेल कर रहा है, उनको आप लॉन्ग टर्म दिखाएंगे तो बोलेंगे यार कौन इतने पता नहीं कितने साल जिएंगे, नहीं तो लॉन्ग टर्म, उनको आप शॉर्ट टर्म बेनिफिट्स दिखाना पड़ेगा, इमीडिएट चाहिए. तो अगर हम लॉन्ग टर्म बेनिफिट्स फॉर द गवर्नमेंट फॉर समबडी हु इज गोइंग टू ए ग्रीन बिल्डिंग इन एनर्जी जैसा ना जहाँ पे एनर्जी कम यूज होता है, long term benefits है, government should see it कि my electric load will be less, the resource that would be used to make it
वो कम हो जाएगा.
तो मेरा गवर्नमेंट तो 5 साल के लिए नहीं देखना चाहिए, गवर्नमेंट को 50 साल 100 साल के लिए देखना चाहिए,
25 साल 50 साल
100 साल में देखना चाहिए. इंडिविजुअल को उनको देखना चाहिए कि अगले 5 साल में मुझे क्या मिल रहा है. तो मैं अगर इंसेंटिव डिजाइन ऐसे करूँ कि मैं किसी कस्टमर को तो मैं शॉर्ट टर्म बेनिफिट दिखा रहा हूँ, बट एक्चुअली मुझे लॉन्ग टर्म बेनिफिट हो रहे हैं, मतलब फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट साइड. आई थिंक दोज इंसेंटिव्स probably will work better than other type of incentives.
Very nice sir. एक और सर सब्जेक्ट है जैसे आज के टाइम में आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस एंड एनर्जी टेक. How do you perceive the AI role, particularly in the global energy demand? मतलब will it help? Certainly there is a lot of impact that the AI is doing on the other sectors, which is very, very visible in terms of, let's say, IT or the financial institutions. There are a lot of other impacts also जो कि AI के through हैं. Energy specific area में what is your perspective sir?
I think first of all AI is becoming a part of our life.
Yes.
आप LinkedIn में पोस्ट करते हैं तो आजकल लोग they write this story and make an image using AI. So it has become a part of life.
Yes.
Whether it is the right thing to do or not, it's a different matter. But I think everybody is using AI in their own way. Whether at the high end or at the low end, everybody is using AI. And, nobody is like remaining distant from AI. So AI की use तो बढ़ेगा. The other sector is the data center. Which again is part of the AI, because once you are doing AI, then all this data have to be stored somewhere. So you have to have this data center. India is having now, I think, producing 10% of the world data, but having only 3% of the data center. And with the increasing concern about data sovereignty and government wanting all the data should be within the country and should not go outside. So data center infrastructure will also develop or will grow over a period of time in the next few years. Right, in Noida also it's a lot of data centers are reportedly coming up.
We did also work on a lot of data centers.
So what is happening is that AI for energy, right, is also another thing that we have this load forecasting, we have the resource forecasting with increasing variable renewable energy. You need to forecast them very quickly. A human brain probably would not be able to do that. So you need AI to do all those things with the type of demand, very quick डिमांड बढ़ रहा है, घट रहा है. आप ये इसकी जो the entire thing that you have to understand and design and plan your how you the discoms planning. So ये सारा चीज without AI is not possible, and AI can do all these things very easily to the advantage of the utilities. So definitely it has a huge value, and we have to appreciate that. But there is also another thing, that the energy for AI. Right. Energy is a very important layer for AI, and energy is used for two different things. One is for computing, the compute infra that you are creating, and the other is for cooling, right? And
data centers,
So here I have, so now we all know data centers are energy guzzlers, but how much energy guzzlers, I think we are not discussing enough about that. Now if I have to give some numbers, and we organized an event on AI and sustainability last month in April, and I have been part of few other events, and because of this events, I had to do some little bit of research on to improve my understanding about the subject. And what I found is that AI or data centers currently uses around little less than 1% of India's electricity consumption.
Not much as of now. It will be growing very fast.
Yeah, so that's exactly the point I was trying to make. Now you commented not much. So let me now qualify what is that 1%. Right, and then I would like to get your reaction to that. So the 1% means 0.8%, so which means on a it's close to 1%. 1% is something like whatever number of houses have been electrified under the Saubhagya program. They are consuming little less than 2% of the electricity.
Wow.
तो आप सोचिए कितने हाउस होल्ड हुए हैं, रफली अराउंड 3 crore households have been electrified under Saubhagya program.
लगभग 300 million.
हाँ, तो
30 million.
AI is using half of that. मतलब half of that 1.5 crore households इंडिया की कंजम्पशन जितने है, AI अकेला उतना कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं.
तो पहले मुझे लगता है जैसे ईवी के टाइम में भी एक बार वो आया था कि कितनी एनर्जी कंजम्पशन मल्टीफोल्ड बढ़ जाएगा.
कम कर रहे हैं, तो
नाउ डेटा सेंटर से अब रियलाइज हुआ है.
नाउ लेट मी टेक ए 2050 में डेटा सेंटर एज पर नीति आयोग हाउ मच दे विल कंज्यूम. सो दैट्स अबाउट 6 to 8% of the electricity consumption of that time. Right. Reportedly, the electric mobility sector will also consume a similar amount of electricity at that time. That means almost equal, right? What would be the electric load of data center in 2050? Roughly around 45 to 50 gigawatt.
Wow.
What is 50 gigawatt in the current context? That's the total electric generation capacity of hydropower in India or wind power in India. Wind ki 56 gigawatt hai.
Yeah.
Right, so that is the amount of, so the total amount of electricity being generated by hydropower in India will be consumed by data center in 2047. Right, so when we quantify the how much or energy guzzler word, then one can understand what is the level of energy consumption by the data center. But there is a bigger challenge to the data center, which I think we are not discussing much. And in the current context, it is extremely important. That is the amount of heat that will be dissipated by the data center
to the atmosphere.
To the atmosphere, to the microclimate. Right? And reportedly, some studies say that a data center can release as much heat to raise the temperature by 2 to 5 degrees Celsius within the 10-kilometer radius of the hyperscaler data center.
Wow.
Right. Now, I have not studied it. I have read this report is by University of Cambridge, if I know correctly. And if that is
5 degrees Celsius within a 10-kilometer range.
Radius, within a 10-kilometer range.
Oh.
Now, we are sitting in Noida. If assuming that there are few data centers come up in Noida, this one at different places, so the Noida's temperature will rise by 2 to 5 degrees. Now, in the last 80 years, roughly around 80 years, I think the ambient air temperature has increased by 0.8 degrees Celsius, something like that. Little less than 1 degree Celsius. आप उसमें डेटा सेंटर के कारण से 2 डिग्री सेल्सियस अगर जोड़ लेते हैं, आप सोचिए 1 डिग्री सेल्सियस टेम्परेचर इंक्रीज में हम इतने हीट इम्पैक्ट की कितने सारे
कर रहे हैं.
मतलब we are organizing so many events and workshops discussing the challenge that we are facing because of urban heat and heat island and all these things. तो जो है ना आपकी डेटा सेंटर के कारण जो टेम्परेचर चेंज होंगे उसके बारे में मेरे हिसाब से
इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट में अभी स्टडी नहीं की है.
इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट में स्टडी नहीं हुआ. सो आई एडवाइज सो आई वाज इन वन ऑफ द इवेंट्स डे बिफोर यस्टरडे, नहीं लास्ट फ्राइडे को, एंड द ANRF, दिस अनुसंधान नेशनल रिसर्च फंड gentleman was also there. So I suggested that why don't ANRF support a study to see the impact of increasing heat because of data center. At least I know data centers are important, but it is equally important what we say that prevention is better than facing the problem in future.
पहले पता तो करना चाहिए.
We should start working on that to know that okay, if that is the case and if the data center increases the ambient temperature, then should we have data center in Noida or we should have data center in a colder place in India? Right? We can at least, the government can make a policy that data centers are important, but data centers should be located based on certain condition, and that condition should include not just where the submarine cable has landed, but also other parameters, environmental parameters.
सही बात है.
Right. So then probably we would be in a better position to tackle the problems if and when they arise in future.
हम लोग अपॉर्चुनिटीज, फॉर एग्जांपल नॉर्थ ईस्ट हमारा एरिया है.
एब्सोल्युटली नॉर्थ ईस्ट है, जहाँ पे भी मतलब
थोड़ा सा भी ग्रोथ वहाँ पे इस तरह से और भी हो सकती है.
अच्छा, आपके जैसे मुंबई में या पुणे में डेटा सेंटर नहीं बना के बीच में अगर कहीं लगाते हैं, वो ठंड जो प्लेसेस है वहाँ पे लोनावला है और तो कहीं ना कहीं वहाँ पे कोल्डर मॉडरेट है, वहाँ लगा सकते हैं. ऑफ कोर्स फॉर दैट वी हैव टू टेक द सबमरीन केबल देयर, द केबलिंग एंड अदर थिंग्स फॉर ऑप्टिकल फाइबर केबलिंग and other things have to be done. But better do it, spend little more money, but at least problems to face nahi honge. Maybe if we don't do and the problems, we start facing the problems, we will need more money to address those problems.
Correct, I totally agree, sir. One more question, sir, maybe I think the last question in this case. What is the vulnerability level that we are in terms of critical mineral import? We understand that a lot of technology that requires us to import these minerals, and we also have witnessed and seen that there were a lot of challenges in terms of importing those, let's say lithium ion or copper, even cobalt, all these specific minerals which are required.
So I think yes, definitely we have faced problems. The government is, I'm sure, is cognizant of all these problems. National Critical Mineral Mission has been launched with adequate budgetary support. A lot of work is going on in this field. We have to understand the government has identified 30 minerals as critical minerals, including that all the rare earth elements have been put into that bucket. So total 30 plus rare earths ho jayenge. I think around 45 or something like that total ho jayenge agar sabka alag kar dein. But within that bucket, I think we are not using all critical minerals in bulk quantity. So there are only nickel, cobalt, lithium, and rare earth. Some rare earths we are using in bulk quantity. Rest are all very small quantity for which we don't have to bother much. We can also import and use it for very critical defense purposes and other things we are using it. But lithium, cobalt, nickel, and rare earth, these are very important, and we have to create the supply chain, make the supply chain more resilient. Now, how do we do it? We are now importing almost 100% of our requirement, nickel, cobalt, lithium from other countries, right? Particularly from a country in our east. Now, what we are trying to do, we are trying to build our supply chain currently. We are trying to reach out. We have become part of different international partnerships like mineral security partnerships in USA or other partnerships. So we have formed a company. India has formed a company by the name of Kabil, which has also I think entered into basically has taken over a mine in Argentina, lithium mine in Argentina. They are also trying to source critical minerals in other countries. So I say it's again, we have to address the problem in 3 steps, or rather short term, medium term, and longer term. Longer term. Now, recycling is being touted as a solution for critical minerals. So I feel recycling, again, we are not using enough devices now which uses critical minerals so that we'll be able to recycle and use it again. You cannot, right? So we don't have accumulated that much of recycled material in the country. Over a period of time, maybe it will take another 5 to 10 years for our recycling industry to develop fully. So हमें शॉर्ट टर्म में हम रिसाइकिल कर सकते हैं जो भी मिनरल्स हैं, एंड दैट प्रोसेस कंटिन्यूज. मीडियम टर्म में हम जो मिनरल्स हमारे पास है, जैसे वेदर इट इज आयरन और बॉक्साइट, कोल, ये सारे जो है, हमने कभी उसमें एक माइन से बहुत सारे मिनरल्स निकलते हैं. कोल इज द मेजर वन, बट वहां पे हो सकता है बहुत सारे निकल भी मिल जाए या कोबाल्ट भी मिल जाए, राइट? क्योंकि हम इसकी इंपॉर्टेंस समझ में नहीं, पहले हमें पता नहीं था, तो हमने कभी उस लेंस से इसको देखा ही नहीं. जी. सो वी हैव टू स्टार्ट असेसिंग वेदर ऑल द माइंस दैट वी हैव फॉर अदर टाइप ऑफ मिनरल्स, वेदर दे आल्सो हैव सम ऑफ दिस क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स और नॉट अवेलेबल और नॉट. तो उसको हम टेलिंग्स बोलते हैं. So those tailings have to be, we have to start finding out critical minerals from those tailings. So maybe in the medium term, that could address our supply chain resilience. अगर कुछ मिल जाए वहाँ से, and I'm sure मिलेगा. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि कोल में सिर्फ कोल ही रहता है. फ्लाई ऐश जैसे है, फ्लाई ऐश से भी क्रिटिकल मिनरल हम एक्सट्रैक्ट कर सकते हैं. राइट, सो हम मीडियम टर्म में उसको यूज कर सकते हैं. लॉन्गर टर्म में हमारी एक्सप्लोरेशन है, जो एक्सप्लोरेशन ऑक्शनिंग अभी हो रहा है, लाइसेंस वगैरह दे रहे हैं. बिकॉज लॉन्गर टर्म में इसलिए बोल रहा हूँ क्योंकि एक माइन डेवलप करने में इंटरनेशनल एक्सपीरियंस सेज ऑन एवरेज 15 years you need. टाइम लगता है राइट, फ्रॉम योर ऑक्शनिंग टू योर कमर्शियल स्टार्ट ऑफ कमर्शियल प्रोडक्शन. तो आप 15 साल तो वेट नहीं कर सकते. आप 15 को कितना कम कर लेंगे? हम 12 साल 10 साल हो जाएगा. हाँ, सो लॉन्गर टर्म में हमें तो उस एक्सप्लोरेशन में ही जाना पड़ेगा. बट इन बिटवीन रिसाइकलिंग, यूजिंग द टेलिंग्स, एंड इन द लॉन्गर टर्म whatever exploration we have to do. This is as far as within the country our critical mineral approach have to be. Internationally, again, we may not get all the critical minerals in adequate quantity. India is a growing economy. Energy transition हो रहे हैं. So you need critical minerals to manufacture your wind turbines, for your electric battery and everything, right? For your defense purposes also. So you have to also create a supply chain, international supply chain. So what I feel is that we have to diversify the supply chain. We have to reach out proactively to different countries who have these critical minerals mines, and see how we can use our friendship to also develop their mines and bring some of the critical minerals for our use. So this process will also help them to earn some revenue, and for us also to ensure our supply chain is becoming robust. Yeah, supply chain robust. For example, we have Sri Lanka has very good graphite, one of the best graphite in the world. So can we, but then they are not mining it because they don't have money to mine it, they don't have technology to mine it. Right, so can we, as part of our national exploration policy, if we can extend it to our, say, neighbors, of course geopolitics is involved, that is for the Ministry of External Affairs and government to take care of those geopolitics, but if we work with them, help them in finding out graphite, and they also have reportedly they also have cobalt. So find out those cobalt and graphite. Can we then enter into a long-term agreement with them where they will supply, and in the return they will also get they also generate revenue and also use some of these minerals for to export to other countries. So कुछ arrangement we have to work out some arrangements with our friendly countries with whom we are friendly and see how we can take this forward. So I think we have to take a both different approach for domestic and for international exploration.
Very nice, sir. I think it's a very articulative response for this question. We have a rapid fire round also, sir. So it's a very small question, maybe a small answer also. So the first question is, what is the myth about clean energy?
Well, the myth about clean energy, what I think is that renewables are 100% green.
Yeah.
That's the greatest myth.
Yes. Biggest energy risk India should avoid.
So India should try to reduce our import dependency.
And one policy reform that India should bring immediately.
I think the policy reform, as I said, I will reiterate, we should also start looking at life cycle analysis in all our projects, or at least wherever it matters, in addition to the levelized cost of energy. That should be inbuilt or structurally inbuilt within the policy framework process.
What is the most promising clean energy technology?
Promising clean energy technology, I think probably solar, what we call it, perovskite. That's something that has a potential to have almost 30 to 40% energy efficiency. That means basically long duration energy storage, different types of batteries, iron, air batteries, sodium batteries. These are something that work is going on. Probably in the future it will come up. And the most important thing, I think, I feel there might be some technologies which we don't know now because it's a long journey, right? It's a long journey. Maybe some technologies
we may innovate in the course of time.
Something might come up in 2035 when it will become the best technology, better than what we are using now or we are thinking to use.
AI and critical minerals, which one is the most important thing for India for energy security?
Well, for energy security, I think, and as we move ahead with our energy transition process, critical minerals is extremely important. AI will only make your work faster. Without critical minerals, you can't even produce the energy or that will be needed to run the AI compute.
Very nice. What is the latest sustainability habit that you have adopted for yourself?
Well, I try to live very simple. So I've been following it since many years.
So not the latest, but lifelong.
Yeah, I don't believe in something that you should do as a fashion or something like that. I have very limited number of dress. I don't buy frequently. That means frequency of buying a dress is
very low.
Very low. Right. Textile happens to be the largest or one of the largest emitter of greenhouse gas emission.
Yeah.
The only unsustainability practice I follow is driving from my home to the office.
Yeah.
That's the only, because I don't have a very good metro connectivity.
Okay. But that is something which is important also
absolutely.
For the maybe I think greater productivity also.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your maybe I think knowledge, wisdom, and experiences. I think I have learned myself a lot, and I'm sure like our audience must have learned from this conversation as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for your patience listening. If you have any specific question or query to sir, we will also include LinkedIn ID of Dr. Debajit Palit sir. In our channel description, you can write to him. Along with that, if you have any particular suggestion to us, we will also be writing our email ID, social@greentree.global. You can write to us and look forward to having our next episode soon. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, GroundZero.
Thank you so much, sir.